Thank you for being here to this illustrious guest for definitely the first time we're having this conversation.
First time for sure. Yeah.
This is definitely not a repeat because the record button was not pressed. That definitely did not happen prior.
Towards the end of our
Towards the end
conversation.
of the conversation. Totally didn't happen.
No.
But listen, let me tell you something about this guest. A wonderful, amazing person, amazing game master, amazing player, and more important than that, an amazing friend. Jonny from Talking XP. Welcome to Gather Your Allies, the show
So excited.
where we talk about the intersection of life and art, as you well know. And you know what? Let me start off with a question that you've never heard before. Where did the Talking XP name come from for the channel? That I do not know the lore behind.
Yeah, I came up with the name and the logo too. I didn't execute the logo. That was one of my other friends, but we had created a podcast where we would talk about just nerdy stuff. And so but we would have like a focus on like D&D and TTRPGs in general. And so that's where the XP part would come in. We're just talking about like games and movies and whatever, and then D&D as well. And so, yeah, it first started off as Talking EXP, and I was like, that's nah. Take out the E and throw just XP in there and we're good to go.
But nice. So if you had to make the shift, if you had to make the pivot away from TTRPG talk, what's the next thing that captivates your imagination just as much? Be it, like you said, movies, TV, comics, or what is it out there that's got you like that?
It'd probably be like video games or something like that. It'd probably be that, because I mean, like, I love just single player games more specifically, because multiplayer games they're good, but like I just get too competitive, so it would just be like so unenjoyable for me.
Yeah, let me tell you, fighting games and shooters, they're a problem for me.
I suck so bad at fighting games. Like I've never been good. I can't.
But I hate them at the same time.
Yeah.
I spent a whole entire stint as a Rainbow Six Siege player. Let me tell you, I've been in the darkest trenches of competitive gaming fandoms.
I did I mean just recently with Marvel Rivals that came out, like I went hard on Marvel Rivals to get to, I think it was Grandmaster, just so that I could have like that little I have the little thing on the title card. So I was like, I want to get just that. That's it. And then I got it, and then I stopped playing for like months. I just picked it up like a few days ago, and that was when they had just released
Blade?
No, before Blade. They had Blade on the map. Like he was going to be a character, but the Fantastic Four, that's what it was.
Oh, Human Torch was, I believe,
Human Torch.
The last one. Yeah. So I mean, you have that passion about all these different nerdy things, but how does that passion go from being at the table at home to transitioning to being on a YouTube channel?
Yeah. Very difficult. A lot of the times. I remember being a viewer, and being like, content creation's so easy. You just make a video and you just post it, and it's so easy.
Put it out there.
I was so wrong. It's tough to stay consistent, I would say, because it's every once in a while, if you make a video that's not going to gain traction because you're just doing it every once in a while, that's fine. Like I like doing that sort of posting, because it's like, I mean, if it gains traction, great. If it doesn't, then whatever. I'm already where I want to be anyways, so it's like whatever. But to get to this point, it was TikTok, one video every single day for about a year, and then burnout. So it's that ebb and flow of burnout and inspiration. you find inspiration in a whole bunch of stuff, just scrolling through Reels or TikTok or whatever, and
Hmm.
then being able to duet something. Like just this morning, I did a stitch from another video about a Daggerheart thing where they were talking about
Yeah.
how they would add exhaustion to Daggerheart, and they
Mm.
said that they used the exhaustion alternate rules of -1 to each for
Each,
each level of exhaustion, and
yeah,
then
from
like 5 feet
2024.
less or whatever for each level,
Yeah.
which is great. That's awesome because the original exhaustion levels are so confusing and so hard to memorize that it's like
Yeah.
I don't even care anymore because I know it's like disadvantage on ability checks, and then I don't
And
remember.
it just keeps snowballing from getting
Yeah,
worse.
exactly. Yeah.
And it starts
And
off
so,
with one of the most severe ones, so it's like, hey, well, everything just feels like bad
right.
icing on top of the cake, anyways.
Yeah.
It starts off so severe.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
So, I never really played with exhaustion, but I
Mm.
thought it was a really cool thought experiment of like, okay, so if we're going to add exhaustion into Daggerheart, what would that look like? And actually, Darrington Press had a live earlier today, and it was the devs. Spencer was there, so I was like, "Hey, how would
Mm.
you do it?" And he was like, "Well, I would use stress." And so I was like, "Yeah, I mean that makes sense, but there's so many things that you can use to
Mhm.
clear stress that it doesn't feel as permanent."
Yeah,
So
and also you find certain classes that ends up being like affecting
a
them way
little,
more than
yeah,
others. Because like you think
yeah,
of the assassin class, or if you're
they
playing a
they
rogue,
need
almost
stress.
everything that
Yeah.
they need to do works off of stress.
Yeah. So what I came up with was what if we just used the scars mechanic that you could
Mm.
then get rid of as you lose those exhaustion levels, which there's 6 of hope slots, there's 6 levels of exhaustion in D&D. So each level of exhaustion marks off one of those hope slots and it caps out how many hope you can gain at one time,
Hmm.
which is a physical representation of you being just tired. You can't
Yeah,
do everything that you usually do
at the
because
same
you're
level.
capped out.
Yeah.
So that's what I think would be really cool because every class uses hope. Every class has like a class feature that you would need 3 hope for. So if you have 4 levels of exhaustion, you're not able to use it. And you could clear it off through, I mean, short rests. You could make it like one of the rest moves or a long rest, same thing, one of the rest moves.
Hmm.
Um, and I just, yeah, I mean, I think that would be a really easy application of exhaustion in Daggerheart. So, but yeah, I made a video on that today. And then the bitten clip that we have that we posted, I
Hmm.
mean, like, it's all about just following whatever your inspiration is at the time.
Hmm.
Because if you make it into a I'm gonna post every day kind of thing, burnout is that like
Yeah.
that Jason Momoa meme where he's just like
Creeping up
creeping
on you
just
from
behind
behind.
Henry Cavill.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So,
mean
I
that's
mean,
just
what
what
do
it is.
you? I mean, what are you doing now that you have more experience? Because you've been doing content creation now for since I believe what 2020, 2021.
2020.
So
Yeah.
you've been doing it for half a decade now. You know, you got 5 years of skin in the
God.
game. So
Yeah.
how are you feeling now? And I know what that's like because I've been doing some form of content creation since 2015. So
Right.
I'd love to hear from your perspective of what are you doing personally to try to keep that balance so that you don't go fully over the deep end. Because I think
Yeah.
people get confused between like a natural burnout that occurs because you've been working so much and then the kind of burnout where you're like, you completely stop everything for
Yeah.
an extended period of time.
Yeah. So that actually happened to me recently.
Mm.
I had been going very hard, very for a very long time. I was doing a lot of Candela content at the time. I was making videos on how to GM and all that stuff, and it was just a lot of really, really big projects, all simultaneous or like consecutive. I mean, all consecutive, like right after the other. And so it got to a point where it was like, I don't want to do this, but I have to do it just to get it done on this time, this deadline that I made for myself. And so once I hit that deadline, once I I think it was just before Gen Con of last year. I hit the deadlines that I needed. And then right after that, when you would usually leave Gen Con with a lot of inspiration and feeling like you want to do something, I left with, I don't want to do this at all. And so it turned into, I'm not going to run any games unless I have to.
Mm.
And I will only be on something like once a week. And so I
Mm.
was doing like guest spots every once in a while, playing games that people would ask me to be in, which is fine. Um, but it's still one of those things where it's like, I'm like, oh man, I have to do this thing. Then you get there, you have fun, you leave, and you're like, that was fun. And then it's the next week, and then there's another thing, and you're like, oh, I have to do this, and then it's
Yeah.
so it's just one of those things that it's like a task that you have to do. And
Yeah.
so it should be fun.
Hmm.
Well, I was able to take that really, really, really long break. I bought a house back in November, and I just focused on doing a bunch of house projects and getting all those done rather than focusing on a bunch of content creation projects. I would go on every once in a while, just like I was saying, but I really, really took a step back from what I was doing to then come back in. I think it was when we started Bitten. Like that was my, I'm gonna get back into it. Well, like when I was prepping for
Yeah.
Bitten, so it would have been like March or February ish.
It's really when you
That's when I
felt
was
that
like,
spark again. Yeah.
right, exactly. I was like, oh my God, I want to do this again. Thank God. So it
Yeah.
took a long time from July all the way up to February of the next year to finally feel like I wanted to do this again. So yeah, it really turned into that second, the latter option of
Mm.
I'm done. And now I've started to post on TikTok a little bit more, but what I'm doing is I'm doing it when I want to do it rather
Yeah.
than when I feel like I should do it.
Hmm.
That's the biggest difference is that it's you have to want to do what you're doing. Otherwise, it's just going to turn into like any other job, and it's going to just be something that you dread doing every single day. And that's not what we want
Yeah.
because that's not the secret to longevity. Burn bright, and then then you're gone because you don't
Hmm.
want to do it anymore. Yeah.
But I mean, but you're back now, and you've
Hmm.
got this motivation, and that spark has led you to Bitten
Hmm.
project that is a joint collaboration with Crit Hit Chronicles, Cujo from Crit Hit Chronicles, helping on the production front. And you're now sitting here with the first season completed, over 6,000 views on the first
Hmm.
episode. YouTube channels, all these sort of things are skyrocketing. All these different things are happening. How are you feeling?
Well, it's it's unbelievable. I've had content where I've created before, but I've never had anything with this like resoundingly positive reaction.
Hmm.
And Meadow had posted in our Discord that somebody had recognized her at Dragon Con
Yeah.
from Bitten, and I've never had that happen before. So it's just, and it's not, it wasn't even me. It was our team together. Like, oh man,
Hmm.
I know we all were just like, this is insane. Like we're at 6,300 views right now. All of the positive comments we've been getting, and we've gotten our first negative comment, and it was about me using Stampede versus a crowd of people,
Right.
and whether or not that's, how much of a difference it is. So it's,
Actually, there is
yeah,
a big
exactly.
difference, and it does
So
change the story.
it's wild that that was the first negative comment because
Yeah.
this has been up since the end of May,
Hmm.
and we have 273 likes and 2 dislikes, which is nuts for this kind of
Hmm.
thing. Like absolutely wild. So it's something that is just so surreal and unbelievable and exciting, and I'm so glad that it's Daggerheart because I am so done with D&D. I am done with that game. Like I know it. I know it
Yeah.
like the back of my hand, but I have done it for so long that now when Daggerheart came out, I was like, this is great. This is what I wanted. It's the new system that I want to use from now on. And so whole bunch of whole bunch of feelings. It's
Yeah,
great.
well, yeah, let's dive a little bit into that because I mean, you started off Dungeons and Dragons, you're
Hmm.
playing it when the fifth edition is coming out, everything's fresh
Yeah.
and brand new. Been with the system since around 2014, 2015.
Yep.
What is it about Daggerheart that you feel like has been appealing to your sensibilities as a game master? And it's not for a lack of you haven't played other systems since then, but what is it about Daggerheart that specifically has gotten its teeth in you? Not to make a bitten reference.
Um, I think it's just so much easier.
Mm,
Like there's for me prepping is a lot easier in Daggerheart because there's not this crazy overwhelming amount of monsters and like items that you need to do, and it's just really focused on the characters, and then you just create a world incorporating those characters' stories into it, and it's just so much simpler. Like, and one of the biggest things that I really do like is the duality dice and the tiers of success and how that directly incorporates what happens in the story. Because D&D is a pass or fail sort of TTRPG where you either succeed or you don't. And then there's the critical success. But you succeed or you don't, and that's it. Sure, there's some things that say if you fail by over 5 whatever, then this happens. But the vast majority of things don't have that. And when you're thinking of something right off the spot, this happens, it's pass or fail. So going over to Daggerheart, it has 4 different results that you can get, and then the critical success as well, where you can succeed with hope, which is like the best that you can get. You succeed with fear, which is like you succeed, but there's a cost to it. You fail with hope, and it's not as bad as it could have been, but you still fail. And then you fail with fear, which is the worst that it could be. And so having that tier directly influence the story is a lot more of a to for me it's a lot easier to understand how to run a game, and it's so much cooler to have like it's a lot easier for me to run because of the fact that the players know something is going to happen. And
yeah.
so with something like D&D, you could go too far into like the failure side of things, whereas here it's like, okay, I failed with fear or I failed with hope, and so it's not going to be as bad as it could have been. Okay, that's good. So then the players know something is going to happen, but it wouldn't be as bad. And so it gives the GM like boundaries almost that you can just always be within, and it makes it a lot easier to understand what the result of rules is. Yeah, I love it. I love it so much.
That's awesome. I mean, and I know you talk about how that you find the simplicity in, or you find it easier to adjudicate what's happening at the table because of the collaborative aspect of determining the
Yeah.
results. But one of the things I saw in a recent video by Bob the World Builder was him discussing how he's actually having difficulty, and I've seen other posts about this, about people having difficulty being able to express the variations of success and failure. So if you wouldn't mind, if you could like go into that a bit, into what in those moments when you do apply those variations, how do you express that, and what mental images come to mind when you're trying to do that?
Right. So the way that I think of it is I look at the polar opposites of the results. So success with hope is the best that you can get. That's a success. Everything is all good. That's easy. Failure with fear, easy. You don't get what you want. It's the worst that it can, it could be. So in an example that I just came up with right now of jumping over a cliff, right? Like you're jumping over a chasm and you're trying to get to the other side. A success with hope is going to be you make it to the other side, everything is fine. Nothing bad happens. A failure with fear is going to be you fall. That's it. And so taking those two results and finding the middle ground is that magic. So like succeeding with hope or succeeding with fear, that's when, okay, you make it to the other side, but you're grabbing onto the edge of this cliff. And so, yes, you made it, but there is that cost of you are in danger still. Somebody needs to help you.
Yeah.
And then a failure with fear could be that you don't get to the other side. You land 30 feet below, grabbing onto a vine and holding on for dear life. And then you can start like a countdown for somebody to help, a countdown of 4. You have 4 actions for your players to go down and help, whatever that looks like. So you're not falling, because that would have been failure with fear.
Yeah.
You made it to the other side and you're in danger right now and you need to be helped in order to get over to the other side. So yeah, just looking at the polar opposites and then finding that middle between them, which I know is a lot easier said than done. So when it does come to those moments where like you don't know what to do, the best thing to do is to ask the players and see what they think. Because when they roll what their result is, if they know that they failed with fear, or failed with hope, they know what's going to happen. They have an idea. Once that roll shows that they got a 3 with hope, like they already have an idea of what's going to happen. I guarantee it. So when you as the GM don't know what to do, just bring them into it. I mean, that's one of the golden, like really nice things about Daggerheart is that is at the core of the TTRPG, is collaborating together and bringing the players into that GMing side of things and lowering that power dynamic, because they have just as much of a say in what the story is as the GM does. The GM is just everything else outside of the players, the environment, the adversaries, NPCs, all of that. So storytelling is the entire table. So, bringing in the players on that result is an easy way to fix that. And then also just don't do anything. Just if it's really, really that hard, if it's a success and there's 2 polar opposites and there's no in between, success with fear can just be a success and then you gain a fear. That's the fear element. That's the cost of it. And then a failure with hope can just be they fail, but they gain a hope. That's the hope part of it. Like it can just be that. So I think there's a lot of pressure in that. And I know that there's also a lot of pressure in like GMing and having to be the next Matt Mercer at your table. But like the thing is that you don't want to be the Matt Mercer at your table, because Matt Mercer uses D&D, and that is a completely different power dynamic than there is in Daggerheart. And this is to lower that and basically become a player that just has insider knowledge. So
yeah, because I feel like a lot of times when people see that mechanic, they're like, oh, I have to use it every single time at every single instance. It's like, no, because first off, you only have but so many hours to play. For every single roll, or you're rolling to see if to check it for something in their pockets. Do you really want to go through and explain all that? Right. So in certain situations, knowing when to go into those descriptions and when not to is part of GMing and is a part of storytelling, of knowing when is the appropriate time to do something for pacing or story, etc. But also, I feel like people get caught up in that, but also have to realize it's playing off of improvisation, and improv is like a muscle. You have to. Yes. The only way you're going to get better at it, though, is if you practice, and if you keep training your imagination to think on the fly, to work with, and and all these different things. So that's the give and take. You don't always have to do it. But keep in mind to try to practice, because if you don't, you're not going to improve at it.
Right. And improv is I remember hearing this from somebody and being like, "Oh yeah, no, that totally makes sense." Improv is not just going in there with nothing and then coming up with it as you go. It's preparation plus going with the flow and coming up with things on the fly. Like you have to do the prep in order to get to that point where you're able to do the improv. For the most part, like there are improv shows where people just ask the audience to bring things in and they just go with the flow, but they're trained actors. Most people playing this
Exactly.
game aren't.
Yeah.
So preparing for them is years of doing this. For us, it's okay, what does a success look like? What does a failure look like? What is the in between of those? Okay, great. Now I can have that ready to go so that if something happens, oh, okay, I can fall back on this, or if there's a different circumstance, you can use this to apply to that situation and then just twist it a little bit so that it fits better. Like that's the biggest tip that you can do is prepare. Do your job as a GM to prep for sessions.
Exactly. But yeah, that is all such great advice with dealing with the system, and you're great at explaining these mechanics and these new systems. I told you this prior, but I had a Candela Obscura one shot, and I was like, we start the game in 5 hours? Seems like a good time to learn how to play. I checked out your videos on YouTube and they were great. And I was able to seamlessly start up that game. And I didn't have any issues at all whatsoever following along and knew the dice rolls, what could be switched out, what couldn't, etc. So you do an excellent job with that. But I guess following this vein with the exploration of systems, I know originally when you were thinking of Bitten and you were thinking of the system, originally this was an idea that you had for Dungeons and Dragons. So, how do you feel now, having made that transition to Daggerheart, and what are some of the experiences that have kind of stood out to you at the table because you've made that switch that you feel like you couldn't have gotten elsewhere?
So one of the things with transferring it over, I had thrown the entire campaign idea out because one of the things with writing is you write, rewrite, 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 and rewrite, and rewrite, and then you do it again for 10 more times. So that's kind of the idea. I had an idea. This is what I want to do. I want to do a zombie apocalypse. Great. Okay, let's make some bite mechanics. Let's make some new zombies. But I found that D&D is so much more complicated. So there's a lot of things that you have to keep in mind in order to make a lethal bite fair. But in Daggerheart, it was a lot easier to make that bite mechanic, though I did have to go through a few different versions of it. But what came out at the end was like so intuitive and so easy to do that it's just based off of whether or not it deals any damage to you. And one great thing with Daggerheart is that there's that armor slot mechanic that is your lifeline. And so that was like one of the main things that I had to port over from the D&D original idea is that bite mechanic. Then I was able to use all the zombie monster stat blocks that they have in the book and then just add a bite and then, call it good. I really like the perspective that they encourage the GM to have, because I always was that Matt Mercer GM where I felt like I had to have everything prepped and ready to go and like fleshed out and all that stuff. But in this, it's more of an outline that I can then flesh out and do improv at the time that it happens. Do my due diligence of prepping and making sure that I know what everything kind of looks like, but the more detailed stuff can be moved around based on wherever the players go. And so I really, really, really like that collaborative story building together. It's it's easier for the GM because you have however many players at your table, that's how many brain power you have. You only have one brain, so that times whatever the amount of players is. They have great ideas. And so probably better than anything you could come up with sometimes. And so incorporating them into the story and yes anding and all of that creates that diverse and interesting story that then is better than anything you could have come up with on your own. And it is. Like I was telling you before,
Yeah.
this first session that we had, I had planned it a completely different way. I had already set up everything, and I think that was one of the more one-to-one things that I had with the original campaign. I had this idea of how the outbreak was going to look and what was going to happen. And so I had the first session already planned, and then all of you came up with your incredible character ideas. And I was like, okay, well, let's throw that out and let's make a different one because I wanted to be able to highlight the players because in the end, that's what the story is about. Though you guys are the protagonists, I'm not. And so the way that Daggerheart really influences the GM to like say, hey, bring the players in is just incredible. I love it.
Yeah. It was I said that it was the most collaborative session zero I've ever had of every single person getting to come in and help place those blocks and those puzzle pieces together. And again, your openness to letting us be able to come in and place those blocks and how they blossomed and formed into the town that we ended up, it made us care about the world so much more because we helped place those bricks that became the foundation. Right. So we helped create the town that we came from of Pale Harbor. We helped create the background from the cities that we came from and who are we related to and the NPCs within them. So I think that collaborative effort that's encouraged within the mechanics of the game with the question system and all that sort of stuff. But a lot of that is a testament to your GMing and the incredible ideas that our players came up with, the other players at the table. Because I mean, again, like Meadow coming up with the idea of us being from a cult. I just pitched the idea of us playing twins because Meadow and I have played so much. I'm like, okay, let's play family members this time. But going in it's such an incredible collaborative experience. But you know, speaking of the cast of Bitten. Individually, they are absolutely incredible.
So good. So good.
I mean, just going
It's
through
so
the
funny
list,
because like we fell into it.
yeah,
We fell into this like we had a completely different cast when we me and Cujo first started casting
Yeah.
and then scheduling. And we came out with such a rock star cast that is just magic.
yeah.
It's
We
wild.
have Meadow, who is obviously incredibly talented, Crit Award winning actress, who I've had the privilege of being with in multiple projects with over the past year. But yeah, they just in their role they just have such this grace and ferocity at the same time in their role. That's just so it's so engaging and terrifying to watch at the same time. I just love it.
Yeah. It's awesome. Having Meadow as a player is just so surprising because never in a million years would I have thought that Alora, like the peace and quiet and very so gentle
Very
sort of character
demure, very
turns into
mindful.
fucking Homelander by episode 8. Laser beaming through somebody's skull. Like, my God,
It's great.
it's crazy.
Great. And then we have Kelly, who is hands down one of the most talented people to ever touch a screen, a stage, a microphone. If you were to take empathy as a raw nerve and turn it into human form, that is Kelly.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it like as a GM to have someone who, no matter what, gives 110% to whatever you throw at them?
It's like I'm a viewer at a lot of those moments where I don't, and this is why I think it's so easy for us and our table is that I don't have to come up with very much because you guys create such great stories. And you, specifically Kelly, is so good at creating this camaraderie in the team, but also laying up a easy spike for Elora to just kill it.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. And Kelly is a very intuitive person just off the rip. So
Yeah.
that obviously gets correlated to, or it gets incorporated into her character, who is also very intuitive and very understanding of, body language and,
Yeah, very
the
aware.
underlying communication.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, I'm also a very intuitive person. So seeing how Kelly is doing things, I'm like, man, this is great. And I turn into a viewer every single time because Kelly is just so good. Kelly is so good. And what's even cooler is that like she is that person that's just like, keep going. Let's go. I could take it. I want to hurt. Do it. And I'm like,
push
yes.
the scene emotionally.
It's so good. I remember there was one moment where I messaged Kelly and I was like, "Hey, are you good?" And she's like, "Twist the knife," and I was like, "Let's go!" Great.
Let's do it. There is, and I think a big part of that too, that makes like Kelly's character is like the veins that carry all the energy throughout the cast and throughout the show. But I have to say the heart of Bitten has to be Noir. Noir's character is one of the best interpretations of the, I don't know if it's like the born yesterday trope, but more so like of just this innocence, this wonder in a very violent, dark world. And every single thing he says should be on a t-shirt or on like
Yes.
one of those, like just like one of those, the meme things of like, take the day and so on. Like everything they say is quotable. But
Straight up.
but what is that like to have someone who emotionally can float between so many different scenes and alter the chemistry of scenes and invite so much danger at the same time at the table?
Yeah, it's like having another GM there. And it's because I know the rules of Daggerheart, but the best thing is when the players want to bend them, and Noir has this incredible talent of bending them in a way that's not game breaking, but so rich in story. Like specifically, like yes, the naivety of Snatch, but also the Fae side of Snatch is something that like I never really think about Fae and that kind of a world. I've never really been interested in that sort of a story, but Noir just embodies it so clearly that it's like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like just the moment where Snatch had hurt his wing and Elora tried to heal it, but in order to do that and in order for it to go through, Snatch needed every single person to say what they love in this world. And that's what finally did the healing. And that's just such a cool mechanic that
Beautiful.
is right. It's like I would never have thought of that. So it's very much like having another GM and the way that Noir invites people into the story and like help me create this is just amazing because it's like I said, it's like watching another GM do that. Like, oh my God, who does this shadow show up as for you is like such a cool application of that shadow twin. It was, and it created such an incredible moment that then
Beautiful.
came back later in that episode and bit everyone in the fucking ass. Like, it's so cool. It's so cool.
That is such a great way of explaining it. It's like having another GM at the table. Yeah, just the way that they're able to float and invite others at the table is so incredible.
Exactly.
And I think that especially shows in the dynamic that they have with Cujo's character, Torn in the series. And it is always so captivating to watch Noir constantly try to, but appropriately, crack open the shell
Yeah.
of Cujo's character. Because he knows that their character is hurting, in wanting to mend. That's all they want to do is try to fix and put light back into a world full of darkness. But I mean, from that perspective of you've known how Cujo plays, but this character is so much the antithesis of how Cujo wants to express himself at the table. So what is that like to watch as a GM, watch that conflict kind of play out?
I mean, it's so tense. And so this is actually the first time that I've been able to play with Cujo, and much less run a game for Cujo. And so, but I know Cujo as a person and his character, and it is very much, like you said, the complete opposite of Torin, which is so funny when we go in breaks and stuff like that, where Cujo's like, oh, is everybody okay? When after like saying like the meanest shit ever that Torin says. And it's so entertaining to see, because I love Cujo, and it's just so great to see like how big his heart is, and knowing how hard it is for him to play Torin.
Yeah.
But he does it so well. And I think it's because of the fact that he knows our group and he's comfortable with everybody at the table to be able to lean into that side of Torin, to be able to be that stern and grumpy old guy that doesn't want to deal with anybody, just wants to be on his own, focusing on his one mission, which is to find that cure. And so it's just really, really cool to see how that story evolves in a natural way, rather than being cut short by that feeling of anxiety of like, oh, I don't know if I can keep doing this because people have adverse reactions to this. I really, really love that Cujo stuck to his guns and just kept playing that character all the way up until the end. And the end was just such a great, it was such a great moment because of that. And yeah, Cujo is just an incredible human, and like the person that's running the entire stream on his own,
Shout
which is
out
just
to Cujo
great.
for,
Seriously, Cujo is
incredible
just
work behind the scenes. You all do not
amazing.
understand how much Cujo does and helps us with promotion of the show, making sure the show actually happens, looks the way it does, functions the way it does. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. But I mean, you're sitting here, and how are you feeling about season 2 upcoming?
Well,
it's
before we get there, I want to talk about you and how great it is to have you. So we met through a previous production, and I immediately knew that off the rip we had this one moment, and I was like, that's it. We're locked in. Like, this is it. Like, I knew you and Meadow and then me were like, I don't know what it was. And then it just, it made me know that I needed to have both of you in this campaign. And then, of course, you guys picked twins, and that's just perfect. But having you in this game is amazing, because you and I play very similar, where we are very focused on the tactics and moving around and figuring exactly the mechanics and knowing the rules and how to bend them
within my
exactly
character.
Exactly. And it's so great, because it's almost like I'm watching myself get to play the game too. And not to mention just how great your role-playing decisions are based on becoming the leader. And oh man, just when you told me the idea of your character and how they were before and how they were after, it it you put so much thought into your character and it shows. And it's so great to watch because you're so if Crucible and Kelly is the veins, if Snatch and Noir is the heart, you are the body keeping everything together by just tensing as much as you can.
He's
It's
just holding
great.
it together with his muscles.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
I
love it.
appreciate that. It's being a part of this production has been one of the most rewarding experiences that I've had within this space. And like, I have not been in this space very long. I've been through many ups and downs, but this is every single time we came in to record an episode, it didn't matter how I felt prior or whatever crap that I went through earlier. I always left out that session at 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning being like, oh my gosh, guys, let's go roll some dice again. I'm ready to play again. We could have went for another hour and a half. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't trade this table for the world. They're just absolutely incredible. And I do want to take a moment, to just shout you out because putting together this table is this incredibly diverse and talented table and allowing us to all come together with all of our different paths in life and giving us the room to let that flourish and nurture that in the world is just so powerful and rewarding and again empowering to be able to do that, like giving us that time to breathe, like being able to have that scene where Royla is retwisting Elora's locks before going out on an adventure is just, in community, is something so meaningful to us. And also having this space and having that be welcomed at the table is just so, it's so enriching. So thank you for that. But also, people do not know, you all don't know how much this fucking guy does behind the scenes and how much they have been championing the show. You don't understand. I wish I could tell you on this microphone how
so close
has been fighting for us behind the scenes and like championing the show to the mountaintops and through the troughs. And even when we sit down and we say, this is just enough, just being able to see each other and to be together and to roll dice together, we appreciate that you recognize how much that means to us, but you still put that on your back and say, no, I'm still going to try to push further for this. That does not go unrecognized because that does not, especially speaking as someone who's as a Black person within this space, that doesn't happen for us, where a lot of what we have to do is fighting for ourselves and trying ourselves to build up what we can in order to showcase our talents and to have space to be able to do that and make our own spaces to feel welcome. And you doing what you do behind the scenes in order to champion and fight for a table that stands for what it stands for means so much. So I know on behalf of everyone at the cast, just thank you for doing that. It means the whole world to us. But I mean, out of all the experiences,
y'all mean the entire world to me too. That is why I do it. Truly.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man. We love you, buddy. But through the ups and downs throughout this space and through it all, I think especially too through the experiences of Bitten, just what do you feel like you've learned the most about yourself in especially this production as not just as a storyteller, but I feel like so much of who you are and what you stand for and what matters to you, what inspires you, has been put into this production. And I would just love to know, like, if there was anything that you would like by the time that we had wrapped, or as we're sitting here now, and you're sitting back and reflecting on this journey that we've been in just this year alone, like, what has that meant to you?
Everything. I This is, and I hope will be, what I'm known for because of how important it is and because of just how great it is. Just this table is, it transcends any mortal concept because of how incredible it is. It's just unbelievable. And I've learned a lot about myself through this, of trying to grapple with the idea of being good enough, right? That's always, that's one of those things that I think I've always had to deal with growing up. That's why you see me being competitive. That's why I work out every day, because I need to be good enough. And that's why I put so much effort into this campaign and writing it and making sure that it's perfect because of that. And so, despite the mistakes that I've made, despite everything, we are sitting at 6,300 views and only one actually comment out of 76 of them. And it's just, it's the blaring evidence that you have to look at and actively look away from if you're trying to say that you're not good enough. So it just, knowing that this is as successful and as good as I had ever hoped it to be is enough for me to know that I am where I'm supposed to be, and that I can continue doing this and continue making stories that are good. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I think, speaking for me personally, I say that you're more than good enough. You're great at what you do. We're super proud of you. And I know we've told that to you, every single week after, after we'd wrap filming and have our post session talks. But I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Like, we are genuinely so proud of you and what you have accomplished. And I know oftentimes it comes to those moments where that GM self-doubt, that imposter syndrome is a hell of a thing. But even without bitten, you are who you are. And that's why we love being with you and playing dice and rolling stuff with you. It's great.
Yeah.
But
It's
with all
great.
that being said, is there anything else you wanted to discuss or talk about that I didn't cover in our conversation? Anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah. That GM self-doubt. That is a very, very common thing that I have to deal with.
Yeah.
I know in our previous conversation we were talking about, neurodivergency and
Yeah.
how that shows up in our play and in running games and all that stuff. One of the main things that I deal with is anxiety. And so I think that goes hand in hand with that feeling of being good enough. It's always that little voice in the back of my head of like, is this good enough? How can I make it better? Is this good enough? How can I make it? And it's just that cycle while I'm running something. And so I feel so much better when I have the table that matches my GMing style perfectly. And so I think that that's in one of the things that one of the pieces of advice that I have for people that do have anxiety like us and don't have that luxury of having a table that is a perfect fit for them is to take the weight off of your shoulders. This is a game and that is it.
Yeah.
If you're doing an actual play, that's a different story. But when you're playing at home, like this is a game. If you are having fun, you are a great GM. That is it. Like if you and your players are collectively having fun at the table, that is it. So having anxiety and doing it anyways is just an incredibly brave thing for anybody to do. And so that in itself proves that you are good. And then there's ADHD, where planning things is very difficult sometimes,
Yeah.
but then you get into those, hyperfixation stints where it's like, I just want to do this all night. I want to focus on this and write and do all of these things. And so I think that finding the way that you can run a game despite your disadvantages is a good thing to do in the very beginning, to try and figure out how you can plan and prep and do all that stuff. If you have ADHD, what's the best way to do that? Is it watching a movie? Is it going out for a walk? Is it sitting at a computer for 8 hours straight, staring at the screen until you come up with something? Because that is definitely something I've done.
Yeah.
It's something that shouldn't be shrugged off, because
Yeah.
I shrugged off the fact that I have anxiety for a very long time. I was like, everybody feels like that. And it wasn't until I saw people doing this, talking about it, that I was like, oh, okay, that's not a normal thing. And people that have anxiety are talking about the things that I do. So yeah, I think that it's important to know what you have, who you are as a person. Doesn't necessarily change anything if you have that diagnosis, if you have that, like, oh, I have autism or something like that. I know that there's a huge negative light on it nowadays, but having it diagnosed doesn't change who you are. It just gives you more tools to deal with the stuff that you experience. And
Yeah.
it's just so important. So yeah, that's my little soapbox for neurodivergency, neurodivergency and mental health.
I appreciate it, and it's an important conversation, and I definitely think we should double back on this conversation in the future and delve more into it. It's an especially important topic, and I know so much within our community. There are people who have the same things and have the similar struggles as well of trying to adjust around those things, whether as a player or as a GM. So I think this is definitely something worth coming back to and exploring even more about the different aspects of neurodiversity and how that affects and incorporates and can empower those who are engaging within the space. But I appreciate you bringing that up. It's really important. But with all that being said, Jonny, let the people know where they can find you. Let the people know where they can see you doing your thing on the internet.
Well, I am talking XP on the internet. I have a YouTube channel that I just hit 2K followers or subscribers, whatever, on YouTube, which is nuts. One of the main reasons is because I have a How to Play Daggerheart series. I go over all the rules, how to create a character, how to GM Daggerheart, and those are doing pretty well. I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that, so it seems like it's a pretty good video. So check that out. And then also, of course, we've talked about it quite a bit on here. I am the GM for Bitten. It is what I like to say, very much like The Last of Us, but in a fantasy setting. Those same vibes. It is good. It is so good. The table just has immaculate vibes, and everybody is riffing off of each other 24/7. It's amazing. It is the best experience I've ever had at a table. So, and that translates extremely well into how good of a story it is. So check that out as well. You could also check it out by going to bit.ly/bittenap, all lowercase. So yeah, you can check that out. It'll take
On
you right
your
there.
screen, or link in the doobly-doo, or if you're listening to this, write it down on a piece of paper. I don't know. Not if you're driving, though. Please don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that, please. But Jonny, thank you for being here on Gather Your Allies. I greatly appreciate you here. Appreciate your presence. And for those of you listening, remember to be kind to yourself and to be kind to others. And remember that joy and love in and of itself are an active revolution. Peace.